In this session, we shall see about lymph, that is tissue fluid. Then later, we'll also see about circulatory pathways. So now let's begin with this. Lymph. This is also called tissue fluid. So now let's see how this lymph is formed. So here the arteries divide into smaller branches, and these smaller branches are called arterioles. So the difference will be in the diameter. So arterioles have smaller diameter when compared with artery. Now these arterioles will further divide to form much more smaller blood vessels. We call them capillaries. So these capillaries are seen in tissues, and these capillaries will unite to form a little larger vessels, what we call them venules, and these venules unite to form veins, right? And as I told here, the capillaries are present in the tissue. So here the cells in the tissue right. So here the arteries and the veins are connected with these capillaries, so hence the blood flows only in these blood vessels, never the blood comes in contact with this tissue. So this is what we call it a closed circulatory system. Now when the blood flows through this arteries and then into the arterioles and then into the capillaries. So when the blood is flowing through these capillaries, certain substances like water, some smaller proteins, right, then glucose and other materials will, along with that water, will pass into these spaces present between the cells. The space between these cells is what we call interstitial space. It's an interstitial space, and into this interstitial space the fluid enters from the capillaries. So this fluid is now called the extracellular fluid, or you can also call it a interstitial fluid, also called interstitial fluid. So this is what I call it extracellular fluid. So it's called ECF or interstitial fluid. Right. Now everything, the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide, everything takes place through this ECF. So here the oxygen from the capillaries will diffuse into the ECF, and from the ECF it enters into the cells, and the carbon dioxide will come out of this ECF, right? So it all takes place through this. So oxygen enters into the cell, the carbon dioxide comes out, whatever the glucose takes, all the wastes that are generated inside the cell will also enter into the ECF, and this some portion of the ECF will return back into the capillaries. The remaining portion of this ECF will find an alternate route to enter back into the blood circulation, and that is the lymphatic capillaries. So here you can see the lymphatic capillaries. So this ECF will enter into these capillaries. Now this ECF which entered into these lymphatic capillaries is what we call the lymph. Of course, here the lymph is colorless. You have to keep in mind. So lymph is a colorless fluid because some WBC cells may pass out into the ECF, and other proteins, okay, smaller proteins, larger proteins will not be passing through, okay, these capillaries, right. The RBCs will also not pass through these capillaries, so RBCs will retain within the capillaries. So hence lymph is a colorless fluid, right. So this lymph will again get back to the circulation, right, normal circulation through thoracic duct, that I will tell you, right. So here you can see, so when the blood flowing through, okay, so the water and some other dissolved substances along with that, okay, will enter into the interstitial space, and that results in the formation of this extracellular fluid or ECF. So this is the ECF will act like a middleman, where it helps in exchanging of gases, okay, other substances, right, and also the nitrogenous wastes. So right, so this is how we see the formation of lymph. Here one more point, the lymph also contains specialized lymphocytes. Lymph also contains lymphocytes, right. And I told you that the lymphatic system finally collects whatever all this lymph, and then it returns back to the normal circulation through the major veins like the left subclavian and the right subclavian veins. So right, so that's all about the lymph or the tissue fluid. Then we'll move on to the next one, circulatory pathways. So here under the circulatory pathways, first we will see about the circulatory patterns. So these circulatory patterns are of two types. One, it is open, and another one is a closed type of system. So in the case of open type, let's see, here we'll take the same diagram. So where artery divides and forms the arterioles. Of course, these also may not be present in open circulatory system, just say. So here the capillaries are not present, say suppose, and the tissue. So directly the blood vessel opens into the tissue, and the blood flows, and then it enters into the spaces between the cells. It enters, okay, into the spaces. So this here you can see that the blood is directly coming in contact with the right tissue. So this type of, okay, circulatory system, we call it open type of circulatory system, and we see such type of open circulatory system. So open type, like you'll see in case of arthropods and mollusks. So these are invertebrates. You will see in them the open type of circulatory system. And coming to closed type, that just now I have discussed, where I have shown you the arteries and veins are connected by the capillaries, and the blood will never come in contact with the tissue. So that is a closed type of circulatory system. That's what we say. In that case, the arteries end with capillaries and the veins begin with capillaries. Here we'll see in the closed circulatory system example. Okay, there are almost all chordates have this closed circulatory system, and you will see this closed circulatory system even in invertebrates like annelids and also chordates. Okay, right. So that's about open and closed circulatory system. And if coming to the point of advantage, so the closed circulatory system is more advantageous when compared with the open type of circulatory system. So now let's see plan of circulatory system in invertebrates. Plan of circulatory system in invertebrates. So under this we will study about, okay, like circulations. There is a single circulation, then incomplete double circulation, and also the complete double circulation. So we'll see about all these three: single circulation, how it takes place, incomplete double circulation, and then complete double circulation. So first let's begin with this okay, single circulation. So I'll give you here only examples. The single circulation is seen in case of fishes. Incomplete double circulation you will see in case of amphibians and reptiles, and complete double circulation you may see in case of crocodiles. So these are reptiles actually. So almost all reptiles, they may show incomplete double circulation except these crocodiles and mammals. Okay, I'm sorry, and birds and mammals. In all of them they show the complete double circulation. Now let's first see about this single circulation. So here almost all vertebrates, they have a muscular chambered heart. Okay, now in case of single circulation, so the fishes have heart, and this heart is two chambered. So the heart is two chambered. So in that it has one auricle or atrium, you can also call it atrium, and one ventricle. So it has one auricle and one ventricle. So here, so this is auricle and ventricle, and from the body parts, the blood is collected by the veins, right, and they carry, so the veins, they carry deoxygenated blood. They carry deoxygenated blood to the heart, right? So this is heart, and right into the auricle, from the auricle to the ventricle, and from the ventricle the blood flows to the gills. So we know the gills are the respiratory organs in case of fishes, and from the gills the blood through, okay, the blood vessels, the main blood vessels like aorta, so where it has the oxygenated blood that flows back to the body parts. Here the blood after oxygenation, it doesn't or never returns to the heart. So in this case of fishes, the heart will be always carrying deoxygenated blood. So for that reason, the heart in the fishes is called venous heart. It's called venous heart. So you can see here there is only one circulation through the heart, and that's we call it single circulation, and this is how the single circulation that takes place in case of fishes. Now let's see the incomplete double circulation. The next one, incomplete double circulation. Incomplete double circulation. So here in case of this, as I told already examples, you will see in case of amphibians and most of the reptiles except those crocodiles. So these, they have a three chambered heart. They have a three chambered heart. The ventricle is not completely divided, right? So we say it has three, all of them will have a three chambered heart. So in which you will see two auricles and one ventricle. It has two auricles and one ventricle. So now let's see in this case how this incomplete double circulation takes place. Right, so this is the right atrium and this is the left atrium and this is the ventricle. And we know from the body parts the deoxygenated blood will pass to the right auricle, and from there it enters into the ventricle, and from the ventricle the blood passes to the lungs. So whatever, okay, in amphibians the skin is also involved. So here I'm just mentioning, okay, the respiratory organs, the lungs, right? So here the major veins, they carry the deoxygenated blood. It carries deoxygenated blood. So this here also the deoxygenated blood, and from here, from the lungs, the oxygenated blood will come back to the left auricle. So here is the oxygenated blood, and from the left atrium the oxygenated blood enters into the ventricle, and from the ventricle the blood finally comes to here also through aorta, okay. The oxygenated blood comes to the body parts. So here there is a mixture of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. So same in case of double circulation, okay, the mixed blood will be supplied to all parts of the body. So here these are all veins, and here you have a pulmonary artery, and in this case it is a pulmonary vein, right? So we understood that in incomplete double circulation, mixed blood will be supplied to all parts of the body. So this all is all about incomplete double circulation. So now let's see about double circulation. The next one, double circulation. Now in case of double circulation, completely all the auricles and ventricles completely they are divided, right? So this we see in case of aves, mammals, and even in these, okay, crocodiles. So they have four chambered heart. So in case of incomplete double circulation, they have 3 chamber, and here we have 4 chambered heart in which there are 2 auricles and 2 ventricles. Now let us see how this double circulation takes place. So here this is right atrium and this is right ventricle, left atrium and left ventricle. Okay, so from the body parts, the deoxygenated blood passes to right atrium. So through the veins we call as a vena cava, and this also consists of deoxygenated blood. And from the right atrium the blood passes into right ventricle. From there the blood passes to lungs through the pulmonary artery, right? This also has deoxygenated blood, and in the lungs it gets oxygenated, and from the lungs the blood through the pulmonary vein, so oxygenated blood, it finally passes to the left auricle. So from the left auricle the blood passes into left ventricle. From the left ventricle the blood passes to the body parts through the aorta. So here also oxygenated blood. If you see, the left side of the heart always carries the oxygenated blood, and the right side of the heart will carry the deoxygenated blood. So in this you find actually 2 circulations, right? One, I call it systemic circulation, and another one called pulmonary circulation. So the systemic circulation, when we have to call it systemic circulation, when the body parts or the tissues are involved, so that which involves these tissues, then you have to call it systemic circulation. If it involves the lungs, then it's called pulmonary circulation. So now let's see the path of those systemic circulation and also the pulmonary circulation. Right, so this systemic circulation, first I'll mention systemic circulation. So this will begin with the left ventricle. So left ventricle, aorta, the tissues, and then vena cava to the right atrium. So it starts with the left ventricle to right atrium. This all comes under the systemic circulation. Then coming to the pulmonary circulation. In case of this pulmonary circulation, it begins with the right ventricle, then through the pulmonary artery to the lungs, and from there through pulmonary vein to the left atrium. So it will be from right ventricle to left atrium. So this constitutes the pulmonary circulation. So I already mentioned that the systemic circulation will involve the tissues or the capillaries, so which I simply mentioned here as body parts, and in the case of pulmonary circulation it should involve the lungs. So as there are 2 circulations, this is what we call a double circulation. In the next session we'll see about structure of a human heart.